an ocean of messages. In this episode, I'm going to be going back and reading through a blog post I wrote back in March called, I think it was March anyway, but it entitled God versus Gods, in quotation and lowercase. Out of all the blog posts I've written, this one really strikes at the heart of, something that I've really thought about a lot. But kind of the common misconception among a lot of people, especially among secular people, that there's kind of some confusion about terminology. A lot of it is just semantics, but it's something that I like to think about because it's something that elevates my view of God. It's something that just blows my mind when I think about it. That he's no mere God; he is the God, and there's a big difference between those. So this is one where I kind of started diving into what the difference was between big G God and little g gods. At the time of writing, I'd been playing quite a bit of the game Hades. It's a roguelike action game made by indie developer Supergiant Games that features fast-paced combat, an addictive core gameplay loop, well-drawn art, and solid voice acting, all set amidst the pantheon of ancient Greek gods. It centers around Zagreus, the son of the titular god of the underworld, in an attempt to escape from his father's oppressive expectations and seek out an unknown destination beyond the realm of the dead. Hades is just one example of a piece of American pop culture that finds a strange fascination with Greek mythology, following in the footsteps of God of War, the Percy Jackson novels, Disney's Hercules, and many, many others. It's not just Greek or Roman mythology either. Many books, shows, movies, games, and more have drawn inspiration from the world of mythologies ranging from Norse to Celtic to Egyptian to Chinese. It seems as though we have an unusual fascination with the fantastical world of gods and their undertakings. For many Christians over the years, this has been a cause for some concern. The Bible makes perfectly clear that we are to have no other gods before our one true God. Personally, I'm not quite as concerned with people's fascination over ancient stories as I am with what this has done for our popular perception of how to define the divine. Most people, I'm sure, don't actually believe in the existence of Zeus or Thor. The presence of these gods in the common vernacular does lead to some confusion over how to perceive the nature of deity, however. The main distinction that gets most people perplexed is the difference between God and gods, big G versus little g. This is often seen as the same difference as between monotheism and polytheism, but the nature of God and the nature of the gods are also called into question. We know that in both cases we are referring to something or someone divine in nature, someone more powerful and long-lasting than us mere mortals, and usually someone who has a pivotal role in either the creation of the world or the shaping of it into what it is today. One distinction that is commonly attributed between the two is that God is seen as being more powerful and mighty than the other gods. In the movie Groundhog Day, for example, the protagonist at one point says that he thinks he might be a god, though not the god, as he put it. And in Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2, Ego the Living Planet refers to himself as a little g god. Even when we attribute godlike powers to a character, we feel the need to distinguish between that and the mightier god. Even so, we tend to underestimate just how big the difference in power is between God and gods, solely by definition. God is no mere Ra or Odin. In the stories told of such gods, we see that they had a point or of beginning, that there are points of relative weakness for them, that there are limitations to their power, however great it is described as being. Not so with God. He had no beginning and has no end. He just is. There's a reason why the God of the Bible names himself Yahweh, meaning, I am that I am. His power extends over all of creation, not just one small part of it, and his sovereignty knows no limitations. To be God is to be the highest conceivable being in all of existence, from whom all things originate and to whom all things will someday return. God is essentially the perfect culmination of the powers of every god. While mythologies attributed powers of control to different gods, with some holding sway over the sea while others rule over the harvest, and so on, God reigns over all of it. He holds the powers of these other gods while eschewing all of their character faults. Stories of the gods tend to feature lots of deception, promiscuity, and hubris, showing gods who are as deeply flawed as we are, while God is perfect and blameless in every way, being the source and fulfillment of every virtue. There are points in the Bible that seem to refer to other gods, not merely the handmaid gods of the nations surrounding Israel, but also vague gods referred to in the Psalms. Psalm 58:1 says, "Do you indeed decree what is right, you gods? Do you judge the children of man uprightly?" Or Psalm 82:1 says, "God has taken his place in the divine council. In the midst of the gods, he holds judgment." What are we to make of this? Are there actually other gods besides the one true God? I think the quick and plain answer to this is no. It seems evident that the psalmists were referring, probably mockingly, to those mere humans who would try to see themselves as gods, as some sort of divine rulers who hold sovereignty over the way of things. I would like to take this thought one step further, however. Given the definition laid out of God versus the smaller gods, I'd say that these gods, if they did actually exist, would be much closer in nature and power to us than to God. He's so much bigger than that their power and authority would seem petty and trite by comparison. Perhaps this is why the psalmist had no qualms using the word gods to describe humans. Even in the midst of gods, the one true God holds judgment, and there can be only one. In reality, there is no such person as Thor or Horus or Hades or any of the other gods referred to in mythology. If there were, I would bet that they would be much different than their depictions in ancient writings. There's a good chance that they would each bend their knees in awe and submission to the one all-powerful, omniscient, omnipotent God of the universe. Thank you very much for listening. Check out my website at mediareformed.wordpress.com for more content like this. Stay tuned for future podcast episodes, and until the next time, keep on searching.